This video is going to be pretty raw, but what I want to do is I want to talk about how to actually start an agency that runs sustainably, not just some get a money bag really quickly SMMA type of agency. I'm talking about a real sustainable agency for the rest of 2025. We're in September, and 2026 really onward after that. Just for context, so you know what you're getting yourself into, today we're going to be going over what is the actual agency model that I'm referring to, why it's hands down the best and least saturated agency model, and how to actually start this specific agency model yourself. That's exactly what we'll be going over today. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, then get yourself a cup of coffee, some water, and let's get locked in. So with that being said, the very first thing that we're going to do actually is we're going to go over what this agency model is. And spoiler alert, it's called a YouTube growth agency. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. But essentially, a YouTube growth agency is exactly what it sounds like. It's where basically you have brands, you have businesses, and you have individuals, most of the time individuals, who hire you to become their strategic brain behind their YouTube content, right? This is from planning to actual execution of said content. Essentially what your role is to design the YouTube strategy or the roadmap that helps them, in effect, scale faster, grow smoother and more sustainably, and then turn their YouTube channel or their YouTube into a real acquisition engine or real engine for growth, both in terms of revenue, but also in terms of personal branding or monetization, or as far as the vanity metrics go. Now, I want to get one thing out of the way right away. Starting a YouTube growth agency is not about editing videos or running someone's channel. It is about positioning yourself as a strategic partner, somebody who comes in and fully understands how YouTube actually works from a business level. You understand how to use YouTube and as a tool, the powerful tool that it is, to refine it, inject strategy into it, optimize it, in effect, doing exactly what we spoke about, which is not only giving the channel growth, but turning it into an acquisition machine for that individual brand, or turning it into a revenue generating machine for them. Now, again, as I said, you're not just a service provider, you're the architect. That's how I like to talk about what I do when I'm on client calls. Your values, basically, as a YouTube strategist or running a YouTube growth agency, comes from diagnosing whether the channel is stuck or not, and then where the channel is stuck at, designing the path for the growth plan, and then guiding the execution through the entire way from point A to point B. It's at its core an agency that really does the following three things. It does strategy, planning, and direction. So strategy, first, understanding the client's niche. And then we want to understand the audience psychology behind that niche. So what are their pain points? What are their curiosities? What are their certain buy triggers? All of that stuff we want to understand. And then we want to position YouTube in correlation with those understandings. That's really where the strategy play comes in. And also understanding YouTube growth at its most fundamental level. What works on the platform? Why do certain people work? And a lot of this comes back to just the psychology of marketing and content and understanding this, which is all really fun stuff. I have a lot of videos on my other channel where I talk about that in depth. Next stage of this really, of this whole agency model at its core and within these three things, the next stage really is planning. So mapping out what are this clients or creators' content pillars going to be? What are the formats that we're going to test and go with? What are the titles? Maybe there's a specific title. There's certain title formulas or structures depending on certain niches. So what are the ones that we're going to test or go with? And then the thumbnails. This is a massive, massive thing because if people don't click, they don't watch. So thumbnails, packaging, idea, title, thumbnails, this is the most important part of this role or getting a tangible results for the client, right? So we want to make sure that we're testing all of these and understanding and planning what's going to actually work and what will drive predictable growth. And then finally, the third pillar or step of this is direction. So guiding the production and editing team. We're not doing the production and editing. We are helping guide the team on the direction to go. Whether this is our own in-house team or whether it's outsourced, a couple things to factor in. If you have your own in-house team, it's more to manage, more stressful. There's more SOPs needed, more infrastructure that's necessary, things to be put into place, systems to be implemented. However, you can charge a lot more versus if you do not have that in-house and you outsource it, less on your plate, which I personally do like. I mean, there's pros and cons to both. Because running an agency, whatever anybody wants to tell you, it can get stressful and it can get overwhelming at times. There's a lot of things that go into this. But if you want to build a good, sustainable business that actually generates you real income, don't be fooled by any online gurus. It will be hard work. It will be stressful. It's not an ocean of roses. So don't let anybody tell you otherwise. That being said, you have to decide, okay, in regards to direction, am I going to be having my own thumbnail designers, editing team in-house? Am I going to build up my agency in that regard too, that pillar of the agency, or am I going to keep that outsourced, right? So we want to know all this so that the client's content matches the strategy in terms of direction. So that being said, right, that's what a YouTube growth agency does, what it is. But now you're probably wondering why this is the best agency model to go forward with. Because I see AI agencies, I see SMMA agencies coming up left, right, and center all the time. But I genuinely do not believe that that is the best agency model to get into. I believe, especially because now they're becoming more commoditized as they get more saturated, I believe that this is the best agency model to go to. I think a YouTube growth agency is one of the most powerful models. Right now, 100%, I can put like all of my bets on the table for this one. I think that it's way more powerful of a model compared to AI agencies or traditional SMMA because of the lack of commoditization, because there's a bigger barrier to entry. So it's not going to become saturated. It's going to be very difficult to become saturated unless you have a step-by-step blueprint on how to become a strategist and start a YouTube growth agency, because it's not very, you need to understand things that are not widely taught necessarily online, right? It took me a long time before I was able to do this successfully. So I think that because of that, it's one of the best agency models. In fact, the clients I work with, the churn is very low. I usually stay with them for 6 months, some of even a year or more, which is really good in comparison to other agency churn, which is like 30 days, max 90 days. Anyways, with that being said, I want to talk about now the next thing that I told you we'd talk about, which is why this is the best, least saturated model to go down versus anything else. So the first reason is because YouTube is a long-term growth engine. It's not a short-term tactic, right? Social media marketing agencies, SMMAs, they often live and die by ads a ton of the time. And when the ads stop, growth stops. Then you have AI agencies. And AI agencies, what I've been seeing a ton lately is they sell tools or automation templates or whatever it is that clients can just replace as soon as they learn the basics of that thing, making not even the agencies commoditized, just making them completely irrelevant, right? But YouTube creates compounding results. For example, a video that you make today, it literally can bring in traffic and leads and revenue for years to come. And I'm going to show you proof right now. On my main channel, Dylan Reynolds, all about YouTube growth, this is one of my YouTube videos. I posted it 2 months ago. It has 355,000 views. I'm still, 2 months later, I'm still getting 88 views per hour just on this video alone, right? Or take this video. This video is another video on my channel, same channel. It has 229,000 views. I posted this again 2 months ago. It's only getting 1 view per hour, but still, that's 1 person per hour. Or how about this one? This one is my favorite example because I posted this 5 months ago. 5 months ago, I posted this. It has 133,000 views. 5 months ago, I really want to drill that in. And even now, this is per hour, not per day. I'm still getting 56 views per hour. Do you realize just between these 3 videos, but mainly this, the first one and this last one I showed you, how many leads that is still bringing into me every single day? That is like 56 ideal clients or buyers for my product, for my offer, seeing my video every hour on the hour. And then for this one, 88, right? In what world does that happen outside of YouTube? The next reason is because positioning, okay? You are not a commodity. You are not. Social media management, SMMA, AI services, they're all extremely saturated or crowded, right? And the reason is because there's a super low barrier to entry. You can easily get in these markets. I can take a course in 1 hour and 2 hours and call myself a SMMA agency or an AI service, right? Clients, because of that, are constantly price shopping, looking for the cheapest offer. And because of that, a lot of times they've been scammed. And when a market gets too saturated, there's a lot of people who This is one thing I hate about the agency space is people focus so little on results, on delivery, and so much on, hey, how to start it, how to make this money. And then the people, these kids or people in their early 20s or whatever it is, they come into these agency models and they try to start it and go get clients and get the money in. And then they're like, wait, now I have to deliver results. They deliver poor results and the agent or the client feels like they got scammed and then never wants to give another SMMA agency or AI agency a chance again. But the thing is, for example, I am coming out with a program teaching this. Full transparency, I'm going to make it so people in the program cannot get to the actual starting the agency part until they understand fulfillment first, which is the YouTube growth side of things. Because I do not want to imagine I've grown 2 channels in under 6 months, 20,000 subs each. Imagine me talking about this, it blows up, right? It becomes like as big as Iman made SMMA, just hypothetically speaking. I would hate to be the person who made this model really big and then because of that, focus so little on fulfillment that a lot of people end up getting screwed in the long run. So because of that, I'm focused heavily on fulfillment, on results, right? And high-level YouTube strategy is rare. Businesses will pay a premium for someone who actually genuinely understands the fulfillment, the result side of things, who understands how to grow a channel into a revenue and vanity metric machine, to be totally honest. And I mean, just as proof, this is my last 4 months of earnings. This is a little bit more than about 20K a month. I just say I make 20K a month because it just flows better than saying I make like 22 point whatever per month. But yeah, this is the last 4 months of earnings. So you can see that as an example. This is not a commoditized thing, right? I only have a handful of clients. The next reason this is the best model is because it's higher perceived value, which means you get paid more, you get higher retainers, right? For example, the lowest agency retainer I have is $3,500 a month. That's the lowest. I have a majority of my agency clients are on $5,000 to $6,000 a month. And then there's a select few who are on like the 10 to 12K a month package. Do those sound like big numbers to you? Maybe it's because you are in the belief system of being in a commoditized industry or niche, right? Or money model. Here, you do not have to. There is high perceived value, which means higher retainers. With AI SMMA clients, you often see them being really task doers, putting out a bunch of fires, but not really doing anything impactful or moving the needle. But with YouTube, you're the brains of the growth. You are helping them build brand equity, influence, and inbound leads. And that genuinely, it commands bigger and stickier contracts, right? So like what I said, you can charge anywhere between 3, 5, 10, 12, 15, even. I even know some people are doing 20K a month per client, of course, for businesses and brands, not individuals. For individuals, in my experience, you can get, I would say that the sweet spot's about like 5K a month for individuals, like entrepreneurs or who want to use YouTube to grow. The clients where we start to scale into like the 10K a month retainers, those are businesses and brands, just so that's out there as well. Because I don't want to set any false expectations. The next reason is you're selling leverage, not labor. That's why this is better. We're not selling labor, we're selling leverage. AI agencies tend to compete on speed and tools. SMMA agencies compete on ad spend results. YouTube strategy agencies, YouTube growth agencies compete on clarity and direction. You are the architect. I love saying that's what I mentioned earlier. You're the architect. You're not a bricklayer. You're not a to-doer, a task doer, right? You are the architect that makes it more scalable, less stressful, and easier to systemize with a super lean team. And I will say that this can get very easy to not become lean if you're not careful. It's very easy to hire for things that are unnecessary that you could very simply build out automations or SOPs for and create SOPs or systemize really just systems in your business to avoid creating a big team. Like my team's very lean. It's just 3 people, including me, right? But other people who do this, like their teams they're just unnecessarily big, which I want to keep profit margins as high as possible. So next is the future-proof demand, right? Because algorithm shifts, with that, platforms come and go. But video, it's the only one that's becoming more dominant. And YouTube is the backbone of long-form video on the internet. The world's biggest search engine is Google. YouTube's owned by Google, right? It is the backbone of long form video content on the internet. If a business wants brand authority in 2025 and beyond, their first always go to is YouTube. It isn't going to be optional coming up soon. Now, all of this to say, this leads us into how to actually start and build this yourself. How can we actually start this agency model, and how can we actually build it out ourselves? Well, I want to break this up into really 4 different phases. So phase 1, and again, this brings us back to the topic I was speaking of when it comes to the topic of fulfillment and delivery. We first and foremost in phase 1 need to learn the game. We need to learn the foundations. We need to understand YouTube growth, right? This is the how to grow on YouTube part. This is the part where we understand the actual service delivery, because this, as I said, this is the lifeline to making this really work long term. You can go hustle some people and try to make it work and test and figure it out and get paid $5,000 for a month and then get screwed over and get a bad reputation, if that's what you want to do. Or you can just dial this in and learn this the right way the first time, take a little bit longer. It might take a little bit longer to get started with this by doing so, but you will have longevity and sustainability within the agency, right? I have clients who are on retainer for 6 months, some even a year now. Why? Because I mastered the fulfillment. I mastered this part first, and it makes them happy. It creates a good customer experience. Now, what do I mean by YouTube growth? What are these things that you need to master? Well, on my main channel, this is Dylan Reynolds' business channel that you're watching this on, but on my main channel, Dylan Reynolds, all about YouTube growth, I talk about all of this. But just to start, it's YouTube psychology, right? Really content psychology. Why do people click? You need to understand why they watch content, why they click off and leave, why they don't click on certain thumbnails or titles. You need to understand packaging mastery, because if they don't click, they don't watch. It's the most important part of this all. You need to understand and master titles and thumbnails and the hooks. The first hook being your packaging, the second hook being the first 30 seconds of your video. Then you need to master retention frameworks. You need to fully understand story arcs, how to open loops, how to close loops, pacing, editing psychology, right? Like why people click off when you say certain lines versus not. Psychological principles like the Zeigarnik effect that you can implement within script writing and the editing of content, that basically all of these different things that when you get down and when you nail down, man, it makes a huge difference in the results you get. You need to make sure that you have analytical literacy, right? You need to make sure that you understand what CTR is in correlation with impressions. And CTR, by the way, is the click-through rate. So you need to understand what impressions in correlation with your click-through rate percentage mean, in correlation with your average view duration percentage, and what all of this means and what the data tells you, right? Because if a video is underperforming, the answer is in the data. You just need to have the literacy within that analytical data enough to be able to read it and see, oh, what is the data telling you right now? You can show me an underperforming video right now, and within 30 seconds or less, I could tell you exactly what to change in order to make it start moving forward or performing well again, because I have analytical literacy, right? Next is business context. You need to understand how YouTube ties into revenue, because you don't make all your money with sponsorships and AdSense. You make all of your money by having your own back-end offer. So you need to have that context, that context and understanding of how YouTube ties into, as I said, revenue, but authority and brand growth as well, right? Then phase 2 is applying the strategy. So this is where the proof of concept comes in. For me, by the way, my favorite way to do this, there are other ways to do this, but my all-time favorite way to do this, and I think it's the strongest, most powerful way, is to start your own channel talking about this and getting the results that you claim you can do. It's exactly what I did. I have 2 separate channels that I've grown that are my own in under 6 months to over 20,000 subscribers, all organically, each by themselves. And in doing that, I have become so good at YouTube growth. I understand YouTube so deeply because of that. That's not even with my clients. The reason my clients are so happy is because I created my own channel to test and experiment and take all of the learnings that I obtained and test that into my own content. And I saw, oh, this didn't perform well. This did. Then I took that and applied what worked well to my clients' channels, so that for them, instead of, having 50% work and 50% not work, I was getting like 80 to 90% of their videos working and the other 10% not, because it's not guaranteed. Not all videos are going to perform well, but So apply strategy and become proof of concept. You could take 1 to 2 channels, ideally your own, because it helps build your own brand as well. Or you could just take on a couple clients for free and start testing with their channel, which is so stupid to do if you can just do it with your own channel, right? And then just do exactly what I said, run strategic experiments, rewrite titles, redesign thumbnails, test different video formats, restructure intros, all that stuff. Document your results with screenshots, Loom breakdowns, recordings, have a camera recording all the time, before and after metrics, you name it. And then you can even build a swipe file of title formulas, thumbnail concepts, retention fixes, and all that you can lean back on to help consistently, basically creating your own SOPs so that you could just basically just create the same thing over and over again with slight little pivots for each client you have. And that's exactly what I've built, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But the phase 3, or the third phase of starting your own YouTube growth agency, is to package your agency offer, right? So this is where you want to have a core promise. So basically, we'll be the brains of your YouTube channel growth. We want to have tiers ideally, right? Audit to strategy to retainer. And then essentially you can have like different pricing tiers for each of those. And then boundaries. So no editing, never ever offer editing on top of this, because you'll only be able to take on like 2-3 clients max, versus you do not offer editing and maybe you outsource it or you have your own in-house team doing that. Man, you can scale so much faster. No social media fluff, only strategy and direction, okay? And then proof assets. So case studies, title, thumbnail makeovers, analytics, screenshots, kind of like what we talked about over here. Again, guys, if you want me to break down, I know I'm going very high level on all this. If you guys want me to break down any of this, any of the things I'm going over more in detail, let me know in the comments below, because I will actually make a video going more in depth on this. I didn't want to go too far in depth and lose people on certain things if it wasn't of interest. So a lot of this is high level from a bird's eye view. But if you guys want me to go on detail or zoom in on anything that we're going over so far, please let me know in the comments and I'll be more than happy to make a video about it. Now, the fourth and final phase is to sell the actual strategy, right? Now, ideally, you could do my favorite method. It takes a little bit longer, but man, does it make you an animal in this space, is you have inbound through your own content. I am at a point where I get all of my leads and all of my clients through my own content. So I don't need to do any outreach anymore. However, in the beginning, you want to do outreach. If you do outreach, my favorite methods were with Loom audits, strategic makeovers, so title and thumbnail makeovers, in addition to like a Loom of how I would change their strategy. Again, not application, just theory, because you don't want to give them the actual value that they're going to need to pay for. And then frame yourself as the architect, not as the laborer. Close using a clear process. Again, like maybe we do an audit and then you do like a sprint with them and then that goes to a retainer, and then you price for leverage. So start with, again, if you're just beginning, maybe $2,000 a month or $1,500 a month, but do not go less than that. Don't do any $500 management fees or anything like that. That is a different business model, okay? So those are the 4 phases. Those are really the 4 phases from a bird's eye view of how to build this and start this yourself. That being said, guys, if you want everything that I have, like literally everything, because I love building businesses. I love building. Like that's why I like YouTube so much, because I'm able to build. I'm able to build channels and create content, build content. But I love building businesses, which is why I love this business model so much, because I feel like I'm always getting to solve problems and build, and it's really fun. But with that, I've built a ridiculous amount of SOPs, systems, frameworks, operating systems, templates, you name it. And I'm going to give everything away, everything. I'm currently working on a program, but I want to make it really good. I've been so busy doing the actual thing that I'm teaching that I've not had time to give to the program, but I've recently made some really smart hires to a point where I've now been dedicating most of my time to just creating this upcoming program that I'm going to be releasing, all about how to start and scale your own YouTube growth agency. You can join the waitlist. I'll put the link in the description below. It's just a quick little waitlist, a link to a waitlist with, you just put your name and your email, and you'll be the first to know before anybody else does when I launch this program. And inside the program, you're going to get things like this is just a screenshot of like a quarter or a fraction, a small percentage of this entire page, but I have entire databases of successful thumbnails. I have entire databases of outlier high performing titles. I even have a custom trained AI GPT. All of this and so much more that's going to be in this program. So if that's of interest to you, then join this waitlist because this will be in the link below. Other than that, let me know what you guys want to hear next about this model, or if this is interesting to you at all in the comments below. Again, I mainly talk about YouTube growth. Like that's what my main channel is about. I talk about how to use YouTube for business on this channel. But behind the scenes, one of the biggest things that I do is I build my agency business. So I'm just curious, if you guys want to see more of this content specifically, let me know. I would love to show it. I can talk about it for days, weeks. I've been doing this for a little bit. So if this is of interest to you guys and you want me to make more content, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. With that being said, I hope you guys found some value in this. And with that, remember, as always, I'm rooting for you.